Oh, yes. Hit that like, everybody. Johnny Million raid. Here we go. Getting fired up. I think we're up on Instagram. Everything seems to be rolling. I'm checking the streams. Checking the streams. Share the show if you would, folks. Let them know we're here. Yeah, I'm definitely getting an algorithm dunk lately. That's all right. That's all right. I can win organically. I'm not against it. Okay, here we go. Let's get started. So, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Hal Sparks, Megaworldwide. I'm Hal Sparks, and I will be Hal Sparksing for the foreseeable future on the show. We got a pretty jam-packed show for you. There's no way I'm going to fit everything in tonight, so it might be a little bit of needle dropping. Just by the very nature of the... Oh, Gene, thank you so much for the support, because God knows, while it seems like other channels are growing precipitously, I keep getting damped down on in the algorithm, and I think it's because of my big boy words. So I'm going to attempt, and I know I'm going to fail, to pull back on the number of big boy words and just use them more surgically, as it were, on occasion. perhaps. But I'm definitely not popping up in the algorithm. I mean, I've always been swearing like this, so it's probably more about yeah, I'm being attacked by the mothership. That's clearly what's going on. Thanks, Susan. So share out the show if you would. If you're on Facebook, think about, you can stay on there, but think about if subscribing on YouTube just to help us bump our numbers up. That would be really helpful. Same thing with the crisscross. And by the way, Twitch people, I have, and by the way, let me talk to the chat room. Let me talk to you guys. Come here. There's a little thing on Twitch where you guys can clip the show. Yeah. Now, you can also do it on YouTube, but YouTube just takes the bigger show and makes a kind of clip of it that you can share out, but it's still attached to the bigger file. It's just weird. Whereas Twitch, for whatever reason, grabs the clip as a separate video piece. So if you see something and you're like, somebody should post that as a short or something like that, you can grab it yourself on Twitch if you feel like it. If you're there and you're like, oh shit, okay, that was cool, I like that, or you did a character or whatever, you can grab you can set it to grab like 60, 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, that kind of thing. And yeah, and it'll be there, and I can see it after the fact, so that I can go into the little video thing and pull it down, because I need to be making shorts, quite frankly, to drive up our numbers. I know that's why, and I've been talking to Cliff, and Cliff has been wagging his finger at me. So CSL does a great job of chunking the show out into its pieces, but as far as like little viral tidbits, that's what I'm going to focus on, my homework, right? And so I'm going to make little bit. And yeah, so Adam Mockler and my such have been threatened by the Trump turd. Seems they are threatening any dim liberal creator. Really? I haven't seen that. I mean, they ignore me. I used to send them, if you'll recall, on Twitch, and I don't take it personally. They got, like, I'm not even on their radar probably, but I used to send them raids all the time, and they never reciprocated. So I was like, okay, well, hell with it. I mean, if you're going to try and build a community and that kind of stuff, and I'm going to send you my audience right after, like the great Johnny Million just sent a raid on this show via Twitch, then thank you, and I will reciprocate when the time comes, or what have you. I mean, I have him on the show, the rest, so whatever. But if somebody's on after me and I can send the audience to them or something, keep the flow going, that seems like a menschy thing to do. So that's what I'm gonna do for other people. But if somebody if somebody doesn't reciprocate, then like, why am I wasting my time after a while? There's only so long you can do that or whatever, right? I mean, I should send it to someone who's a little more loving. That's all. Yeah, I'm gonna need a pirate radio station. That's exactly what I need. It'll be Pump Up the Volume 2, starring Hal Sparks. My F-bombs are fine, but don't do rectal jokes during that. Well, I can't help it, because we've got, first of all, well, this is not, now you've got me trapped, because I was going to bring up this first clip, and it's annoying. Okay, so couple things. This should be a general, you should give you a general grist. This is grist for the mill, and give you a general grip on where things are going. That's what, my brain is rushing words out right now. I apologize, because I have so much stuff to cover. This is the current state of the quote-unquote progressive media, if you will. Yeah, that's, in case you don't know, that's Chunk Uger on with Peanut Butter Dildo over here. Yeah, who's got that show Valuetainment, which, again, there are a bunch of these fuckers. You're now on Facebook, and this can't be an accident. It's got to be part of a greater strategy, even if it's having useful idiots as the primary focus. But there were these people who started out as kind of just like borderline Tony Robbins wannabes, and Peanut Butter Dildo, star of the Valuetainment wars.org, his channel started out that way. It was kind of like this, like, how to get ahead in business and blah, 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 and just kind of, and of course that collapsed because his advice fucking sucks, I guess. And so he got into politics, because that's the fallback, I suppose, on all these guys. Because, why why pretend to be a financial success when you can just suck up to Trump, who pretends to be a financial success? So that seems to be the thing. The same thing has happened to Bill, what's his name? On fuck, now I gotta look it up. There, yeah. And you guys might know what I'm talking about, because I originally, like, there are a couple of these shows I used to watch. Is that his name? I suppose Bill, something like that. Tony. Is his name Tony? What's his fucking name? Bill. Yeah, Tom Bilyeu. That's what his name is. He's on. Yeah. Okay. So this is a good example of this. All right. So about a year ago, he had on this guy Bilyeu at what the fuck his channel's called or whatever. But he had Tony Robbins on this one. These daily habits will prime your brain to destroy stress, anxiety, and depression, reinvent yourself, escape mediocrity, master power, build wealth, those kind of things. All right, fine, whatever. I was more like, there was a period where I subscribed to a bunch of these channels because I think I got something to say on that topic from a first person point of view, as opposed to just having guests on. You know what I'm saying? I think I can be a motivational speaker at some point. Right? But at one point, he started huffing his own fucking paint. I don't know, whatever was laying, right? So, like, here's it 6 years ago. Best motivational speeches compilation. That, look at his head down and all this stuff. I mean, he had Destiny on. He was debating him, right? Because he's again, Bilyeu has decided that the sun shines out of Trump's ass and Joe Rogan's ass, and he has now he's having on fucking Kermit the Peterson. The Great Depression is coming in 1 to 5 years. Civil War. He has this dipshit on. What was his? This guy's name. Fuck, Rudyard Suckwad. This guy who's like uber nerd. He's what if alt history? I think is the guy's online thing where he's like. He pretends that there are parallels between this period in history and past periods in history, as if you could overwrite what happened to the fucking Roman Empire based on the Industrial Revolution, and there's parallels, and there fucking aren't. Anyways, point being is about a year ago, he stops doing this shit, and everything starts becoming like borderline QAnon shit. And even when he brings on Robert Greene, who wrote the 48 Laws of Power and the 50 Laws of Power, because he did that thing with 50 Cent, and there is no 49th law, apparently. They just skipped that one. But he brings on, is it Ray Dalio or whatever? That, like, he's bringing on people basically saying the world is coming to an end. That's what it is. And it's like, you can tell, and there used to be a period where he was like working out and kind of getting into fitness or something, and I don't know what his fucking deal is, but he's gotten skinnier and skinnier as this has gone on. So as he looked relatively normal at one point, and he has gotten gray and rail thin and fucked up as he's increasingly gotten more paranoid on his show, okay? So the same thing is sort of true of Peanut Butter Dickhead, over here. That there was just kind of like, it started out as this like proto-motivational online channel, and then, right? Yeah, the bell is not working for me. I'm definitely getting hit by something. So share the show, make sure you're subscribed, all that kind of stuff. I hate that that's a thing, but it clearly is. Not quite sure why my channel would be hit, other than the fact that I'm incredibly charismatic and smart, and you can't have that. But anyway, so Chunk decided he was going to head over to Peanut Butter Dildo's show and agree to disagree, I guess. Income tax at zero, how Trump's tariffs and Doge could eliminate income tax for Americans. And what they mean is the upper 1%, because that's, they buy stuff overseas, and, you're buying a yacht or a fucking airplane and you just buy it directly from the manufacturer, you have it just made someplace else, or you even buy it through a dealership in another country and you don't have to pay any excise tax on it at all, because you just charter it out of another country but live here, right? That's easy. Man, sales tax on property that you buy secondhand will be incredible, but if you build it yourself, it won't be shit, right? That's how like what are effectively the oligarchs of the well, we didn't have oligarchs, we had robber barons, and this is the new robber baron age, is what they're seeking. Okay, but I have no idea what part of this conversation we're going to drop into, because you can't tell from what the fuck's going on here and why it's Biden and Hunter in the middle of this, and yet the title of it, like, it's all over the fucking map.
The Biden White House is discussing preemptive pardons for those in Trump's crosshairs, okay? And there's quite a few of them here. I don't know, Rob, if he's explaining in the video or not. Biden's aides, led by White House counsel Ed Siskel, are debating preemptive pardons for public affairs officials could face retaliation, including Adam Schiff, Liz Cheney. Fauci. Schiff rejected the idea, saying, I would urge the president not to do that. I think it would seem defensive and unnecessary. The time for cautious restraints is over. We must.
Yeah, this was a story like a week ago. Oh, yeah, this is 10 days ago. Okay, so this is not a newish or whatever, but it's just that this story came and went.
To push back again.
By the way, can we just look at all the number of, like, oh my God, he's just going to pre-pardon Fauci because Fauci was involved in, some big scheme with the World Economic Forum and Bill Gates, and then that's just gone, right? We're just not even going to pretend they were freaking out about that for like 4 days.
These tweets and prevent Trump from abusing its power, et cetera, et cetera. Rob, if you want to play this clip, go for it.
Yeah, so this is...
All right, should we get to the... then you talk of that. So, and then... there's Chunk sitting there. So do they get around to it at some point? Okay, yeah. So I guess this is when the conversation starts.
And give the same kind of a pardon. And the trickiest one that was said is that he may even pardon himself because of what could happen. Now, has there ever been a president that pardoned themselves?
Oh, fuck you. We talked about this when Trump was leaving. Has there ever been a president that's pardoned himself? Well, no, except Trump was apparently trying when he was leaving and failed. And then the idea that Biden can't do it now, or can somebody do that when literally Trump's SCOTUS gave the sitting president the most power any president has ever fucking had? Of course he can. In theory, he doesn't have to pardon himself, because just by being president, it's like the moral equivalent of a flush toilet. And once you're president, all your crimes are forgotten.
Not as far as I know. So, look, I used to be friends with Joy Reid when I was an anchor on MSNBC.
Friends. I mean, you should at least make air quotes, right?
And so we had a huge falling out afterwards. And the reason is...
She's black. No.
What is that? I mean, look at the propaganda. So I'm principled. I don't think that Trump should have pardoned Steve Bannon, Roger Stone, Charles Kushner. Charles Kushner's family had nothing to do with the administration at the time. But I also don't think...
Nothing? Charles Kushner's family had nothing to do with the administration at the time? Isn't he related to another Kushner? I don't know. I'll have to look up, somebody get a subscription to 23andMe and look that shit up.
Hunter Biden should be pardoned. I don't think Adam Schiff and all these people need to be pardoned. So what do we...
Neither does the Biden administration, because this, again, came and went.
First of all, there is no such... This is an invention, preemptive pardon. What the F is that, yeah. Right? That's not a thing, right? So you got to be charged with a crime. You actually have to be convicted of a crime before you get a pardon. But Trump screwed that up, because the minute any of his allies were in trouble, I pardon. So Trump definitely did it. But
so it sets a standard. So legally you can do it. And so people tap dancing around the idea that the Trump administration is going to roll in with the DOJ and possibly putting somebody like fucking Patel or any of these assholes in charge of stuff. And they're just going to make people's life hell. So the preemptive pardon is there. So these people don't have to go broke defending themselves against stuff because Trump's got a wild hair up his ass, especially while he's suing news organizations and pollsters and shit. And ABC is settling for millions of fucking dollars rather than go through it, which individuals don't have. So to keep them from that torment, that's what he would do. That's what people were suggesting. fucking yawn.
You can't, if you're Joy Reid or you're MSNBC or you're these people, you can't say, I can't believe Trump was thinking of pardoning his family members or pardon. Oh, but of course Biden should pardon his family members and all of his allies, etc. So the idea of staying principled is just an anathema to them. They hate it. And so, look,
yeah, that's what it is. It drives her crazy, especially Joy Reid. She wakes up every morning like, oh, fuck, I got to be principled today because Cenk Uygur is keeping score. The man who has single-handedly run probably the largest anti-democratic, like the anti-democratic voting machine in the last 20 fucking years. The TYT's single fucking purpose is to turn Democratic voters against the idea of voting. Just diminish the vote as much as you can. Tamp it down. You know, let perfection be the enemy of the good. For half the voters that watch his show, and then the other half, it's a matter of if we don't get everything, nobody gets anything, and so I'll take my ball and go home, and so they ignore the vote, and then women are fucking second-class citizens in this country for at least a decade now because of this dipshit. Saying that there's literally like 6 of one, half dozen of another Democrats to Republicans, and that's exactly why they're having him on. You don't get to be a guest on Peanut Butter Dildo Show unless you come there to flog the Democratic Party. The rare exception, I think, was Pac-Man, and I think they were like clout jacking. He's got a big following, and they figured they could clout jack, and it didn't work.
I have a suggestion. Let's see if.
Although I will say, Pac-Man, they probably picked him because he defines himself as a leftist specifically and doesn't call himself a Democrat. So the idea that he's a leftist independent is in and of itself a categorical criticism of the Democratic Party, would be the theory. That he's, you know, he'll come on and say that the Democratic Party is bad because they won't go far enough, and that's the theory. Whether he did on the show or not is immaterial, but that's probably the thinking for bringing him on.
Well, we can agree to this one. I have one pardon suggestion for Trump, but Biden could beat him to the punch and get all the glory. Pardon Edward Snowden. Okay.
Fuck you.
Okay, Edward Snowden revealed
They're talking about that.
the deep state
Yes.
wiretapping us, listening to average.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. The prison program was a government program that was the equivalent of private companies purchasing the very same information from Google. But the federal government can't do it, so they set up their own program to do it. And even when they were doing sweeps, it's only during like mass events like 9/11 and around the fucking site so that they can make sure there's not a secondary coordinated event. Get the fuck out of here.
Americans, right? He's an American hero.
No, he isn't. He bugged off with 2 laptops full of software, none of which had to do with the prison program. He could have released that as fucking paperwork. And fucking greenwalding these assholes, fly him over to Hong Kong, where he sits for a little while, and then he flies to Russia and stays. Shut the fuck up. You know who's a hero? Reality winner. You know who's a hero? Chelsea Manning. They stayed and took their fucking medicine, and they stood up for what they believed in. Get the fuck out of here. Snowden weaponized the empathy of a bunch of voters who care about these issues to cover the bullshit he was doing. Again, the Unabomber's not an environmentalist, and Edward Snowden isn't a fucking patriot. Get the fuck out of here.
The left-wing populists have always thought Edward Snowden was a hero.
That's because they want the system to be destroyed because they think they won't be affected, because these left-wing populists that you're talking about always pontificate about the working class and stuff from the warm side of a bay window in a fucking suburb. These rich dipshit Portland suburb kids that wear black bloc clothing and go throw fucking Molotovs on the weekend and get to cosplay as dumpster divers while they'll never see the ramifications of the damage that they do. Fuck off.
And so, can we get an agreement here that a pardon?
No. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, by the way, I'm sure they do, because these guys are in Russia's pocket anyways. Why would these assholes hate anybody who relocates to fucking Russia?
Of Edward Snowden makes sense?
I agree 100% that he needs
Of course you do. Of course you fucking do.
to get pardoned.
Hashtag Rip Portland.
I do.
Yeah.
What about you, Tom?
100%. And Silk Road.
Okay. So, look, if we all agree.
And Silk Road, right. That's the programmer dude who did like the off-grid dark web sales, outside the U.S. tax system, outside sanctions sales entity that was effectively just used just like crypto, only for trading in guns, drugs, and human beings. I didn't know that's what it'd be used for. I thought people would buy fucking Amazon via the dark web. Why? Is it really worth it using a fucking Tor browser to shop on Amazon to avoid paying a fucking sales tax on things? No. The only people who use that are people who are engaged in modern day slavery. Fuck that guy. Jesus, Silk Road gave Bitcoin a bad name. You're not wrong. I don't think it gave it a bad name. I think it showed everybody what Bitcoin is for.
Agree that Edward Snowden should be pardoned. Let's go. Pardon actual heroes. Pardon people who actually need a pardon. Pardon people who looked out for the American people rather than themselves.
Then why'd he flee the country? Again, Chelsea Manning didn't. Reality Winner didn't. Why did he? I'll tell you why. Because they were actually showing stuff that they saw and drawing attention to it. They meant it. Whereas Edward Snowden was selling a bunch of shit under the table while using the veneer of being a whistleblower to hide what he was doing. So if he turned himself in or faced, the music in this regard, then everybody would see what else he was doing. And they go, wait a second, this guy was using my concerns about government spying and everybody else's concerns about that shit to hide the fact that he was selling software and other keys to our foreign enemies. Again, people who were helping Assad, and I showed you yesterday the fucking mass graves with 150 to 200,000 fucking people in them, because wherever Russia goes, there's always a mass fucking grave. And Eric Snowden sided with them and helped them out over America. So get the fuck out of here.
I agree.
So let's go. And by the way, if we all unite on these things, what do I?
Trump advisors, of course they do. Who don't they like that lives in Russia?
Mean by unite is that if we all push it together, and like today, if it goes viral that Edward Snowden should get the pardon, the good news about Trump, and this is, I always give credit where credit is due, is he actually listens to people.
No, he doesn't. He listens to people on Fox News, and he listens to like the trends on social media with total disregard for the source. If 60% of the fucking traffic on Shitter is bots, and Russia is buying like massive numbers of accounts on Truth Social just to keep it fucking afloat, and he's like, what do you guys think? And what do you think they're gonna think? Good Lord.
Like, he cares about his base, and this is what.
Yeah, that's he totally does. That's why I put Besant in charge of in his Treasury Secretary. Yeah, totally.
It drives me crazy about the Democratic Party. They don't care about their base at all.
Sorry, you just think like black people, minorities, and women shouldn't be the Democratic base is the problem. You think you're the base. You're big enough to be the base, but you're not the base.
They kind of don't like their base, right? But when I put out the tweet,
which is also bullshit. No, if there's ever been a situation where the Democratic Party doesn't, quote, like their base, that's when they vie for the attention of fuckheads like this on the far left, or the illusion of the far left. I don't give them that credit. In the same way, He's about as progressive as Hitler was a national socialist, right? Look, the label doesn't make you the thing. But in deference to loudmouths like this motherfucker, the Democratic Party in some ways gave more attention to fringe elements of their voter bloc than the massive foundation, which would be the base.
About Elon Musk and cutting the Pentagon, why did Elon and Donald Trump Jr. respond? Is it because of me? Maybe partially, but
Yeah, totally. They did because of you.
mainly it was because look at all those right-wingers in the comments section going, yeah, cut the Pentagon. Yes, conflict of interest rules for generals. And I bet I can get agreement on that here too, right? But I am curious. Do you guys want to
Yeah, let's see.
cut the Pentagon?
Of course.
Cut the Pentagon. So let's go through a couple different numbers because we actually just did this the other day. The annual budget of how much the U.S. government spent last year was what, Rob? $4.7 trillion? I think the number is $4.7 trillion, okay? Of the $4.7 trillion, what is it, 6.1? I know, but I took the 1.4 out. Right, they're about $4.5 trillion in revenue is what it gets. We spent 6.1 trillion, so about 4.5, 4.7 is the money that comes in, that we collect,
Yeah, our
right?
income is about 5 trillion, and our expenses.
Yeah, I love how these guys are using the Google Gemini AI summary when they're looking up stuff. I just love that because I don't want to hear anything from these motherfuckers about how AI is going to destroy us all, or where like this weird techno Luddite maggot thing that they all do. When you're gonna look, if you're gonna cite it and you're gonna rely on it, then don't post it on screen and then bitch about it later.
Is over six, so we're well over $1 trillion
in debt.
Of the
in debt
4.7 trillion, you know where we spend the most money, Rob? Can you type in where we spend most of the money? What percentage goes to what? Do you know what it is?
Yeah, I do.
What is it?
It's all Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Those are the big
You know
three.
what's three?
Yeah.
Military.
Okay,
so now check this out.
You know what's tied with the military
What's that?
is the interest on our debt.
Right. But
It's well over $1 trillion.
It is. But, so check this out. I got a couple ideas if you go in there.
Yeah, I don't want to cut the military. Let's cut this Social Security shit.
I have a couple ideas. On if you zoom in, Rob, I just want to show the categories because I think it's 27%, 21%, 18%. Brandon, can you send it right
Rob,
there?
if you go to that and hit images.
So 21% Social Security, 18% National Defense, 15% Health, 13% Medicare. And if you go in the charts for the audience to see, there's a few things that we need to do because this is the problem.
Yeah, just Google some fucking charts. What is the point? Look, I know I have to do that because I'm by myself here running all this shit. But what the fuck are all those guys doing behind the desk? Put one of those motherfuckers. At least, fucking Rogan has Jamie off camera pulling up shit. You know. Hey, Jamie, put up that thing about how Peanut Butter Dildo has those like 7 guys on the panel, but nobody in the control room. Can you bring up the video of the thing where he's like Googling shit in the middle of a show? Jamie, can you? Yeah. And then order me some Nair. So, good Lord. Mr. Producer? Right.
I don't think that's the one. There's another one that's a better one.
Yeah. Find the one of all of these that proves my point.
An older one. Anyways, this is my thoughts on this.
Yeah, I don't need it. You can't find the graph doesn't show what I wanted it to show, so forget it.
And actually, we put some time thinking about. Do you know what you
really put some? How much? 8. I'm going to go. What do you think? 8 minutes, divided evenly amongst the entire panel.
U.S. just 150 years ago. Do you know where 100% of our revenue was coming from?
Tariffs.
100% was tariff.
Right. Yeah. And most people in this country were uneducated, broke, starving. That's one of the reasons why we ended up with like epidemics and shit like that, because we didn't have a structure set up. Oh my God. Like a third of the fucking country in areas lived in fucking wooden lean-tos.
100%.
Yeah. No income tax.
We lived. Everything for us was off of tariffs. Okay? Everything. For us,
Yeah, all those fucking barn-like buildings. Why don't we just go back to everything 120 years ago? What's not to like?
was off of tariffs, okay? Do you know that?
Yeah, there were no other industrial countries in the world. Like 4 fucking countries had an industrial base. Everybody else was making fucking cheese and toys that looked like they came from Santa's fucking workshop. Asshole. God damn it. There weren't even computers at that point. Like, oh God. This is so stupid.
The U.S. government, what percentage of the U.S. income they were living off of?
I would also maybe, I don't know, parallel that with the standard of living also. Jesus.
Meaning the money that we make, the money that we make that they tax, 2%.
Oh, new hat alert. His hat says the future looks bright. What? What is it? The future looks bright. Huh? What? It's new because Trump got elected, so it was depressing before. What the old hat say? Darkness resides under this cap.
Now it's 37%. They rely on what we do and what we produce, okay?
Yeah, because that amount of money is greater than any other countries in the rest of the world.
Tariffs. We get rid of tariffs. We introduce taxes.
We didn't get rid of tariffs. We didn't get rid of tariffs. We just didn't use them as the primary source of funding for the government because it's unreliable. And all the rest of the world has to do, especially if they have a fucking lock on oil, gas, any like computer chips, whatever the hell, is just create a blockade. And all of a sudden you're screwed. What do you think the sanctions on Russia effectively are? They're a giant tariff. It's like a build that wall kind of a tariff around the country. And look at their economy now. Look what the ruble is crashing. Why their inflation is so high. Why their interest rates are so high.
Time taxes was introduced, you know what it was due? For war, right? Let's do this war, no problem. What's his name comes out? Lincoln comes out, Civil War. Hey guys, we need to tax you up to 7%. It's tiers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Great. Once we pay off the debt for the war, we'll stop taxing you. Guess what happened 10 years later?
Another war.
No, they paid off the war. They stopped taxing.
Oh.
So it's like, okay, we're done. Next. Okay, we're done. Boom, next. Do you know in 1894 what happened? Rob?
But I also think, I don't know if somebody check me on this chat room real quick. Is the world we live in currently in 2024 materially different than, say, the late 1800s? Just curious. I mean, obviously, there's a couple of things, people have more than one pair of shoes, and people don't have to pass shirts down from father to son, and so they create ties and cravats because you couldn't tailor the shirt to you, so you would just kind of use the tie to cinch it to your neck, so you wouldn't have a loose collar all the time, so that work dust wouldn't fall in and make you itch all day long, that kind of thing. But would you say, in general, kids, that the economy, how it's run, what we make, what is traded amongst countries, what value some countries add now, let's say, is different than what they may have added as a country in, say, 1865? And the integration of the elements of what is sold would be both the materials and, of course, the finished goods are slightly different country to country than they were, say, in 1894. And that a lot of what's made in the United States, for example, uses parts from other countries. Computer chips are the obvious one in some cases. But, steel is obviously a big point of contention right now. And so if you make something using that steel or aluminum that you get from someplace else because they have more of it and they process it, right? That if you make something in the United States but you use elements from elsewhere, that tariffing everything at an equal point would just drive up the overall cost of what you're building in the United States, especially if it has, I don't know, more than 3 things in it that are made overseas. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just go back to fucking what I don't know. What were we trading back then? Chunks of wood and whittling knives? God damn, these guys are dumb.
Type in 1894.
Type in 1894 and then ask ChatGPT if things are different now.
Supreme Court ruled, I think it's called something against farmers, Polak against farmers.
Yeah. That was terrible. The Polacks against the farmers. So it was one of the worst fights ever because they were all farmers. Sorry, that is wrong.
Type in Polak against farmers. Do you know in 1894 what Supreme Court ruled unconstitutional? Income taxes. In 1894.
Yeah, because there wasn't a law in place that's how you would provide for the general welfare. And because in the Constitution, they can write, the Congress can write laws, and the Senate passes as long as the president signs it, it goes through, then that would be a situation where it would suddenly become legal. Whereas if you impose it externally because of the war and you didn't do it through a full act of Congress or as a permanent thing, you didn't have a law in the books that was based on the concept in the Constitution of providing for the general welfare. One of the ways you provide for that general welfare is to take in a tax.
Supreme Court ruled Polak versus farmers that federal income tax was
It's Pollock. It's not Pollock. It's Pollock. It's poll tax versus farmers.
That's just 100 years ago.
It's just it's a little more than 100 years ago. So it's like 130 years ago, but sure, why not? That's just, and what's really changed in the last 130 years? Besides home computers and space travel and crypto and fucking AI and cars. Dude, why can't I have if my Mustang, which is named after a horse, has 500 horsepower, who in the government can tell me that I can't just buy 500 horses and have them pull a wagon and call it a Mustang and sell it, and if Ford tries to put a cease and desist, then fuck you. I mean, it was just 100 years ago.
Just 100 years ago. Then what happened?
130 years ago, sure, so.
Happens. Then all of a sudden we have 19.
All of the sudden. That's how I usually refer to a century. All of the sudden. What are you, a fucking vampire? Was this a Twilight YouTube channel? All of a sudden I wake up, everybody I was fucking is dead, and I got to start from scratch.
13. Two things happened in 1913, right before World War I. What is it? Federal Reserve and taxes gets introduced. What happens in 1914? You got World War I starts. Then what happens? You know what happens next in the 30s? You know when we introduce and we accept it? The taking income from your paycheck.
Right, yeah, an income tax. It wasn't new. Kings did that all the time. What are you talking about? Countries all over the world have an income tax. The difference in the United States is we have taxation with representation. We can vote people in, and they will spend our tax dollars in a direction that as far as the majority, agrees they should go through our representatives. Why is this a fucking surprise?
Nobody did that. It's the, what do you call it when you're taking income out of your payroll taxes.
Yeah.
And American people are like, yeah, let's agree to it. dead. From that moment on, you were done. You agreed for the government to take taxes before you make money. That was like, this is what we fought for, right? So
right, and a lot of old people didn't die prematurely or have to fucking, I don't know, live like hobos because of it. And let's be abundantly clear. Chunk Uger is sitting next to Peanut Butter Dildo over here, and he's discussing the end of Social Security. That's what he's talking about. Taking money before you've even earned it, which is not what's happened at all. It's a portion of what you've earned. That's what a payroll tax is. But okay.
And fast forward to today. Do you know right now what the
fast forward 100 years.
revenues that we get, what the exact dollar amount the U.S. government gets from tariffs?
Now?
Do you know what the exact dollar amount we get from tariffs?
You seem to be looking at the exact dollar. You have it memorized. Just tell them.
What do you think the dollar amount income that comes into
$7.50, $7.25, $8.13. Shit, I used to know it too.
them?
Ooh.
From us, they're getting $4.7 trillion, give or take, right?
How much are we?
Of the $4.7 trillion that the U.S. gets, what percentage you think is other countries paying tariffs?
Less than
What do you think is the
5%.
dollar amount? Give me the dollar amount.
They don't pay tariffs. Whoever you are, if you're in the United States, you pay the tariff.
Of the $4.7 trillion, what do you think is the dollar amount that we collect?
50 billion.
What do you think? 50 billion out of 4.7 trillion?
That's very low.
That's like 99.9% is on us.
1.2.
Yeah.
1.2 what?
Trillion?
What do you think it is, Tom?
No, I don't think it's in the trillions. I'm guessing.
Oh my
I think it's in
God.
the billions.
Just get on with it.
I'm going to stay
What is this? Fucking Price is Wrong?
closer to $1.5 trillion.
Trillion and a half. You know what the number is? $80 billion.
Jeez.
Look at this guy.
That is
Did you-
insane.
I
did
took the under. Look at this guy.
Tom,
Yes.
tell me you're not shell shocked.
Okay, first of all, that's because we don't want them. We need the resources. Hold on. All right. Let's see. Total tariffs taken in by USA. But I don't know, whatever the fuck. Okay. Based on 2022 levels, it's 350 billion. So he's only off by a little over 200 billion. A little under 200 billion, rather. Based on the tariffs currently impact over $350 billion worth of imports and exports and increase consumer costs by roughly $51 billion annually. So consumer costs go up $51 billion because of the $350 billion in tariffs. Again, with the tariff, it's what the importer pays.
Please tell me you're not shell
I'm
shocked.
completely shell shocked.
Of course he's shell-shocked because you're wrong and it's your show, so everyone has to agree with you.
Because I
So
know
watch
the War
this.
Powers Act of the,
Check
the
this
War
out.
Revenue Act.
You may be
1918.
asking yourself, I asked you a question about Pentagon. What the hell does this have to do with Pentagon? You know what it has to do with Pentagon? Do you?
We started taking taxes, the income tax, because of war, and the Pentagon budget ballooned because we were taking taxes from war. And of course, it isn't really. It's because, and we have all these military bases around the world, not because we're conducting war activities, but because we're policing the oceans, basically, as the anti-piracy police worldwide, because we rely on the flow of goods more than any other country because we have the biggest economy in the world. So we care more about it than everybody else, and we partner with a couple other countries that have a dog in the fight, perhaps.
No, right?
You may ask yourself, how did I get here? You may ask yourself, how fucking stupid are these people?
Now, we tax 2% tariffs. Our average tariff is 2% on countries because it's $4 trillion.
Yeah, you can't average it out, you dumb motherfucker, to countries that don't make anything. Yeah, what's our tariff on Chad and the Congo, for fuck's sake? Do you think our tariff on Chinese goods or perhaps our tariff on, I don't know, fucking French cheese? You seem to have a fucking wild hair up our ass about French stuff. What do you think? You average it out over all the fucking countries on the planet? Average 2%. Shut the fuck up.
That we tax 2%. What's 2%? $80 billion. Do you realize if we...
Is that where you came to this fucking number? because, all right, real quick. I don't know where the fuck, I mean, I never know where the fuck this asshole is like getting his shit from. Like, who does? But good Lord. U.S. tariff rates, 1989 to 2024. U.S. tariff rates for 2021 was 1.4%, 1.47%, at a 0.05% decline from 2020. It's barely down as far as the tariff rates from when Trump was in office, 0.05%. Rates for 2020 was 152, 2019 was 1378. And 2018 was 1.59. Gee, what was that giant thing? Well, that would be the fucking China tariff war. Okay, so let's see, imports, let's see, tariff, trade imbalance, Let's roll this in here. I don't know why this jumps over. U.S. imports was 3.9 trillion, 16% increase from 2021. 3.4, which was a 22% increase from 2020. 2019 was a decline, obviously because of the imports, and then and then we're back up. Yeah, it was a decline in 2018 from 2017. So basically, Trump's big decline, just his fight with China dropped off a bunch of shit, and that stuff's been gone ever since. Trade to GDP ratio, it's this. So go roll this over here. Let's see. U.S. GDP ratio for trade to GDP ratio was 2022 was 27%. It's 25% before. There's 23%. It was 26.28% in 2018. So the only year that really we're talking about was this, because in 2020 we needed fucking, PPE from China or some shit, and that drove it up. The trade balance, that's the thing everybody flips out about. Okay. The U.S. trade balance for 2022 was negative $971 billion, so just under $1 trillion. 13% increase from 2021. There you go. Lowest one was 828. That was the increase from 2019. That's because we stopped shit from China coming in, and we're basically arcing back up to the. Actually, there was a decline in 2017 as well. So this is basically we've been pulling out of the fucking. Here's 2000. You want to talk about a trade imbalance? Look at here's 1991. There you go. Billions of dollars in the U.S., billions in GDP. There you go. Percentage of GDP trade that's gone down. There you go. And that's the number. So it's 0.05%. So I guess technically speaking, we were billions of dollars. We were at 4. We were exporting at that point. We were up 0.29% in 1973, and then the rest of the world started making shit in 1998. This would be that. Do you think, by the way, any of these presidents post, fucking China opening up, and then them getting started effectively around? Oh, here we go. We hit the negatives. When's the first negative? First negative was 76. And standard of living for Americans has gone up precipitously since then. Unless these assholes want to go back to, my 512K Mac.
We raised across the board. That $4 trillion that you're doing business with us, across the board, we raised tariffs to 25% no matter what country it is. We now generate $1 trillion. Now, let me go to the other part. Do you know how much?
Yeah, but you generate it by driving the price up of everything.
Military personnel we have in Japan. Do you know how much military personnel we have in Japan? Give or take. How many soldiers do we have in Japan right now?
20,000.
52,000 people, give or take. Why do we have 52,000 people in Japan? We're protecting from...
Because we can't have islands around China, dum-dum. Because we have a few people in Taiwan, and we don't have anybody in the South Pacific, and the most stable place for us and the biggest partnership we have is in Japan. That's why.
Ooh. From possibly what?
China.
Okay, so North Korea, China, we have military in South Korea. Okay, but who's providing protection? We are, right? Okay. Do you know who?
Yeah, but not only against China and North Korea and the like, It's protection of us and of trade, which we benefit from more than everyone else. And I don't know what the fuck this guy point he's getting to. And also, I'm curious to see what Cenk's kind of retort, if at all, there is to this. Because here's the problem that I think Chunk has as a issue, is that he effectively he has to side with cutting the Pentagon no matter what, because he's against it, and it doesn't even need a basis. He can just find one. You just wait for a hole and find the excuse there. And so if they say anything that seems to be on your side of the argument, you just seize on that and let that sit. And you haven't moved from your position in theory, even if you've moved from why.
Who we owe the most money to? Japan.
Oh,
they have a $1 trillion bond on us.
In our bonds, yeah.
In our bonds, right? Do you know if
Yeah. Out of the $34 trillion, they have the largest amount of debt. Right. Because they bought it. Because that's where they put their money. Because they rely on it as an investment for the future. Because it's reliable.
if you calculate from 1945, give or take, till today that we've had all those soldiers there, how much that investment has been to Japan? Roughly $410 billion. So say $500 billion. So what if we...
What the fuck? What are you talking about? Just because they're there, we're not dumping $410 billion into Japan just because they're fucking sitting there. They don't get to keep our military gear. Our soldiers aren't working for them. What the hell?
We negotiate with Japan and we say the following: listen, guys, we appreciate you guys. You're amazing. We're willing to continue to provide you protection from all the enemies around you.
We're not protecting them, dummy. We're protecting us.
However, that $1.5 trillion loan, the bond that you bought, we have to split it in half because since 1945 we've given you protection. We got to cut this out. This has got to be gone.
Also, again, we're not. This isn't a protection racket, you dumb fuck.
We're not doing this anymore moving forward. So our debt from 1.1 officially became $600 billion.
Oh my God. Like, what fantasy horse shit is this? Look at that. I don't have to cut the Pentagon. I just magically got rid of $500 billion by pretending that we're in Japan because we're protecting them from China and North Korea and not as part of an alliance around the globe.
Great. Moving forward, all the other
Great. Shut the fuck up.
countries, minimum 25%. Boom. Our income now went from 80 billion to...
Yeah, solved it. Fuck, boom, smack, boing, flip. Jesus Christ. I just, the only reason I'm hanging on to this shit is I want to see what Chunk could possibly say.
What? $1 trillion. We did the math yesterday.
Of course you did.
I'm sorry, not yesterday, 3 days ago.
Well, you know, what's the difference? Yesterday, 3 days ago, 120, 100 years ago. What's the difference? It's the past, which is now. Nothing has changed in the last 3 days, much less the last 130 years.
On what it would take for us to make income taxes zero in U.S., you know it's actually possible?
Yeah, all we got to do is kill off a third of the poor immediately.
You know it's actually possible to make income taxes zero? It'll take 10 years to get there, but we can actually make income taxes zero. Some adjustments. A big part of it was eliminating things like Pentagon. Getting rid of many of these military, the stuff that we have 800 military bases worldwide. What are we doing? And we're paying for it? No, you pay for it. We're giving you protection. If I right now, yesterday we gave away a few hundred Christmas trees out of property. It was a sick experience. I don't know if you were out there or not.
Shooting.
It was freaking awesome out there. People would come and taking cars. They're like, what do I have to pay?
What kind of commie shit is this? Giving away Christmas trees? Whatever happened to the meritocracy? What does this do to your bottom line? How much money could you save? Maybe you could have afforded a producer this year if you didn't give away so much shit.
You nothing. Take a 7-foot Christmas tree on us from Carolina. Take that stand. Take these ornaments. God bless. Merry Christmas. People are in tears crying.
Amazing.
Yesterday while they're there, right? Literally crying.
Why are they crying? Are they nuts? Like, I get that you might be appreciative of it, but you can't eat the fucking thing. Honest to God, you'd probably, like, what's the price of a tree that a 7-foot evergreen would buy him a couple of turkeys? I mean, that's food and sandwiches for weeks.
We had 30 police officers there yesterday.
And only 25 trees. It was horrifying. I'll never get the scene out of my head.
We had security over there. Are they doing it for charity? No, the security is protecting, right? What do you do with security? You have to provide them.
Of course.
If we're providing all the security for all these countries, why are we paying for it? You got to.
Because you're in this analogy, we're providing it for the trade of those trees, I guess.
Pay us for it, right? So there are so many ways that the way money is managed right now, which is absolutely ridiculous, that if we actually sat there.
That moment when you realize someone else is tearing off your mask.
This is why I'm excited about DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency.
Oh, the thing that isn't a department, it's actually a committee of just lobbyists, rich lobbyists, billionaire lobbyists who don't give a fuck and will never be impacted by the cuts that they're talking about.
If there's anybody that can pull off firing and cutting and get them, do you know what percentage of government employees show up to work every day?
All of them? Just some of them do it from home? Yeah, real quick, asshat, let me ask you a question. Is somebody, just because they're in the office, working hard, just because they're there in the building, are they the top performer in that office? Is it guaranteed because they're in the fucking building? Now, is there any situation where people work from home where they're more efficient and their turnover is higher because they don't have to worry about dropping their kid off and picking them up, and they don't have to travel into town to come and do it, and they can get their kids to school and back, and they can bring them lunch or do whatever the fuck and work from home, and they actually spend more time actually being able to functionally work than they would if they were in an office and had to make, arrangements. And again, you want to talk about a fucking tax. How about somebody who has to go into the office and they have to get after school, support, be it a babysitter or a fucking after school program that they pay for or something that their kid can go to until they get home. As a latchkey kid, I'll tell you, they didn't exist when I was a kid, but certainly now it's necessary. Does the person who works from home, who's able to get their kid and drop them off and all that kind of shit and work from their computer at home, are they any more efficient because they go into a physical office? Let me make this more understandable for everyone. This is not a radio show that he's doing. Okay? They are not playing clips like I do where you have to hear audio from something. And certainly if they did, they could mute the mics during it or something like that if they played it out loud over the thing or whatever. But still, he's wearing giant headphones where he's only having a conversation with the other people that's in the fucking room. Now, there's a reason why a lot of podcasts do this. Because they're stupid. But also because they don't have somebody like the situation I'm in where you have somebody who's able to listen to the show in the same room to make sure the audio sounds good and everything's getting through, and because it's a from home kind of a situation. But if you're in a situation where you can afford to have a set you've built with all your cartoon merch and your fucking books that you pretend to read and all that kind of stuff, and you wear a fucking suit to work, but you're wearing headphones because you just want to look like Joe Rogan does, who, again, I don't understand why the fuck he has to wear headphones. The room's like, my office where I'm doing this is about, 8 feet by 7 feet or something. Add another 3 feet, that's as big as Joe Rogan's studio. You could pretty much, if somebody comes in, even with my headphones in, so I'm listening to video and stuff, I can hear them walk in. If Summer comes in, I can hear her talking to me, even with my ears plugged. She's not coming through the microphone. What the fuck are these guys all deaf? I mean, if they are, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to shame them in any way. But I'm just saying he's a poser. That's what this is. His ears get cold. Is it just earmuffs? He's just chilly. That's probably true, chat room.
Do you know what percentage?
40?
Do you know what percentage of
I love how this dude pretends to know numbers because they just looked him up yesterday.
government employees have to come and work at the office every day? You know what the
Who cares?
percentage is?
Is it less?
By the way, how many fucking FEMA workers work in an office? How many site workers, people who check regulations on fucking pipelines and stuff like that, are in an office at any given time? Get out of here.
6%.
What?
Bullshit.
Right there. Read it.
government is
House
all
Speaker
remote?
Balk at Senate report showing only 6% of federal workers show up in person on a full-time basis.
What the?
On a full-time basis. Okay, hold on. On a full-time basis. Hold on. Let's take a look, shall we? Top Doge Elon Musk House Speaker balk at Senate report showing only 6%. They balk at it as absurd? Okay, hold on. Let's see. Let's look up. 6% of federal workers, whatever. Okay. Only 6% of federal workforce work in person on a full-time basis, while almost 1/3 of federal workers are remote on a full-time basis. This is a sharp turnaround from a pre-pandemic area when only 3%. So that it's doubled since, fuck me. Really? And again, this is the same fucking source they use, so I'm going to use it too. Only 6% of federal workforce work in person on a full-time basis, while almost 1/3 of federal workers are remote on a full-time basis. Okay, so we're only dealing with, 65% or 62%, 63%, whatever, of 66. God damn it. This is a sharp turnaround from the pre-pandemic era when only 3% teleworked daily. 6% telework now. Work in person on a this is a sharp turn. Okay, so the flip flop is that only 3% work from home during this period of time. We've flip flopped the number is the point. Okay, claim that only 6% is false. Okay, this is the KOHU thing. Whatever. Official data says 54% of federal employees are required to work on site full time, and only 10% are fully remote. We verify where the 6% numbers came from. Joni Ernst of Iowa, December 5th, released a report criticizing current workplace practices, particularly remote work. Ernst was appointed as chair of the newly formed Senate Department of Government Efficiency DOGE caucus. Again, not a fucking department at all. A caucus that collaborates with an advisory group. Again, not a department. According to the report, only 3% of the federal workforce teleworked daily before COVID-19. Ernst claims that now just 6% of federal employees work in person full time, while nearly 1/3 are entirely remote. She has reiterated this claim on Fox News. Various news outlets and Sean Hannity have also said this. A Verify reader text is asking, okay, question, is it true? False. No. Claims that only 6% of the federal workforce in person are full-timers. False. What we found. Senator Ernst claims only 6% of federal employees report to an office, but an August report from the Federal Office of Management and Budget, OMB, contradicts this. According to an OMB report from August 2024, 10% of federal employees work fully remotely. Not a third. 10%. Not 30%. 33%, 0.3, 10%, and 54% worked fully on site because their jobs required in-person presence. There are 2.28 million federal government employees. The remaining 46%, about 1.1 million employees, were telework eligible, meaning they could work remotely unless they chose to go into the office. Only 10% of employees were in fully remote roles because they lack a physical office to report to. According to the Office of Personnel Management, telework policies vary by federal agency, and an arrangement is usually made between the employee and management on how an employee can work remotely. Ernst's 6% figure came from a survey conducted by Federal News Network, FNN, which published news and analysis impacting federal employees, not official data. The study relied on self-reported and self-selected responses from 6,338 people who said they were federal employees. Again, said. After Ernst's report citing their study was released, the article was updated with an editor's note explaining the data's limitations and included OMB's actual figures. Editor's note. This story was updated on December 6th to clarify that the survey was a non-scientific survey of respondents who self-reported that they were current federal employees and who were self-selected, meaning that even they might have even been lying and we picked from rando whatever. The story was also updated to include the latest OMB data on the actual amount of telework and on-site work being performed government-wide. This federal report covers initial analysis of the federal network, okay, blah, blah, blah. Like, it just, again. They even have the updated version, which disagrees with it. Like, fuck me.
What the hell are they doing?
Work from home.
Yeah, here's the thing. How's their productivity? I give a fuck where they do their job from. You elite prick. Are they getting the job done? And how well? What if, and this might shock you, what if a bunch of these people are actually more productive working from home? And they're cheaper because you don't have to pay for an office for 6 people that don't need to come to a fucking building to do their job because they've all got laptops and they've all got a secure way of contacting their supervisor. And whatever their job is, they get it done. Think that's going to come up? You think he's going to go look at productivity? I don't know. Is there even a report on, let's see, federal worker productivity? What do you think? What do you think? Labor productivity output per hour is up 2.2%. Let's see, is this federal workers? Latest numbers, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is in general. Let's see. In third quarter of 2024, hourly compensation is up 3.1, so it's higher than even the productivity output. That's thank you, Joe Biden. Unit labor costs up 0.8%. That would be your inflation aspect of it. In third quarter of 2024, real value added output was plus 3.5%. In the third quarter of 2024, hours worked were up plus 1.2. So their real value added output was higher than the amount of time they're putting in, which was up anyways. That's just the general worker. I don't know if there's a OPM's latest telework report highlights. You fucking... Office of Personnel Management, there you go. Telework at federal agencies continues to fuel better employee engagement and retention while creating cost savings in areas like real estate and energy. The Office of Personnel Management found in its latest report on the workplace flexibility. Has anyone seen 9 to 5? Ding, 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 ding. Stumble out of bed and I fumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition and yawn and stretching. Right? What did they do in the end of it when they increased office efficiency? They had people, they were shift workers because they had to pick up their kids at school and that kind of stuff. So they were able to rotate through by days of the week. And some of them working from home or swapping out their days ended up being more, they raised efficiency, 3 to 6% or whatever it was in this thing. Same shit. God damn, these guys are dumb. Fucking, Dabney Coleman was so fucking amazing. What a lovely human. That's a nice cologne you got on. That's, Frank, that's sexy. What's that called? Stud. Well, it's turning me on. All right. The telework at federal agencies continues to fuel better employee engagement and retention while creating cost savings in areas like real estate and energy. The Office of Personnel Management found in its latest report on workplace flexibility. Published last month, OPM's annual report to Congress. That would be the oversight part. That would be the part that Nancy Mace, I guess, is a part of, and these assholes. Covers the 2022 fiscal year, which ended September 2022, meaning it covers a period of time when agencies were developing and beginning implementation of reentry plans after a 2-year period of maximum telework during COVID-19, but before the Biden administration's concerted push beginning last spring to increase meaningful in-person work across government. They were already pushing for it. In a message Accompanying the report, OPM Director Karan Ahuja, beg your pardon, acknowledged that the snapshot of telework, as represented by the data, may not be current given the shift in the last year towards in-person work, but she stressed that changes made this year will improve agencies' data collection and OPM's analysis going forward. With COVID-19 no longer a primary driver, blah, 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 blah. In fiscal 2022, federal agencies reported that 46% of all federal workers participated in some form of telework, a tick down from 47% in fiscal year 2021. Meanwhile, the number of employees eligible rose from 50% in fiscal 21 to 52% the following year. Agencies reported that 87% of telework eligible employees actually participated in the practice in fiscal 2022, down from 94% the previous year. So they've done less of it. OPM found that while the proportion of federal workers teleworking stayed relatively static, agencies saw improvements in their goals related to mission outcomes. In fiscal 2022, the percentage of agencies meeting the goals increased slightly in regard to employees' attitudes, recruitment, retention, agency performance, as well as decreasing agencies' energy and real estate costs, meaning that they don't have to pay for an office nobody needs to go to. Again, the fact that they're like, he's looking at how many of these fuckers actually go to an office. Well, I don't give a shit. How many of them are completing the tasks in front of them? You prick.
Oh, no.
They could be part-time. Like, so, yeah, it doesn't mean that that's the only people that show up. It just means that only 6% are showing up 5 days
Even
a
if
week.
we take 50% of it, and let's just say
It's bullshit.
still
full-time,
a unbelievable
12%.
number.
It's not what it means.
That number is still
nuts.
You're right, it's unbelievable. It's not believable. Because it's wrong. The article he cites is wrong. Even the updated version of it is wrong. They Jesus Christ. They updated it this. I'm fine. I'm all right.
What's the point, though?
I told you this wasn't going to be good for my swearing.
Hey, you want to work from home? Go in the free market and see if you make it.
Yeah.
Go, because
What are you talking about? Where's your studio, dickhead? Go into the free market and try. What? Why? Why would federal employees that don't need a security clearance have to go to an office at all? Seriously. How about that, Mr. First Principles Elon Musk suck up, you Muscovite? First Principles. Why do you need an office? Can they meet online? Yep. Do you have to pay for the fucking building? Nope. God damn. I swear these motherfuckers are just trying to get me out, isn't he?
do you know who's paying that? You know who's
We are. You know what we're not paying for? Rent for an unnecessary building, you tit.
paying that? We're paying for that. There
Yeah, they're getting their work done. They're doing more work. They're more efficient. And they can be home with their family. What the fuck's wrong with you?
is like a decision like this we can make where half our expenditure can be gone within 2 years.
That's not. That would drive expenditures up. You got to pay for a fucking building now? Why? Why? Stop snapping your fingers like you're fucking doing something. Jesus Christ. Genies are not the best at math.
Literally. And we have to put
Literally. Literally not.
everything
Say literally again, you dumb
on
motherfucker.
the table. What do you guys do? Jon Stewart asks you, hey, how do you miss an audit for Pentagon?
What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Don't fucking jump ship on your dumb idea now. The fact that the Pentagon isn't spilling the beans on the regular because there are people in the government we can't even trust with our own fucking secrets because the Tulsi Gabbers of the world will hand them to Russia on a silver platter might be a reason why they're not forthcoming about elements of their fucking budget. But you still haven't explained how you want to cut it because you don't.
Well, I don't like the way you say it because that's not really what it is. I'm sorry. What other way is it? Have you seen this interview with Stewart and the lady?
Yeah, no, I didn't see it.
Stewart and the lady? The lady! I didn't see the lady! Stewart and the lady!
But that infuriates me. So
Well, often stupid people are infuriated by things they don't understand. If you think that makes them mad, you should see them try to open a Pringles can without help.
No, look, you missed 7 audits in a row. If that happens in a private company, you're in a world of trouble
Yeah.
if you miss one audit.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Where's the money?
You're a zombie
where's-
company at that point.
And if
If you say where the money is, then people know where it went. And if we know where it went, then our enemies know where it went. And they go, oh shit, we can tell by the expenditures and where it went what they're spending their money on. And then we can create countermeasures to what they're planning in the future. Because it's the fucking Pentagon.
you're a CEO of a company and your CFO, your chief financial officer, screws it up so that he misses it, you can't pass an audit, and your investors don't know where the money is.
But your investors' product continues to work and it doesn't fail. And they're still getting a return on investment from it.
That brother's going to get
You left that part out.
fired. And he's going to get fired in the first year, not in the 7th year.
No, he isn't. Ask, you don't believe me? Ask Alan Weisselbaum or whatever the fuck they do to Trump's organization.
So if I was Trump and,
If you were Trump, well, I don't even, what's the difference at this point?
I said, hey, look, put me in, coach, right? If I'm Trump, Elon, et cetera, I'd ask the generals, where's the effing money? If you can't tell me where $400 billion is, because they missed by about $400 billion. If you can't show me where $400 billion of our money is, you either find the money or you find your next job.
Yeah, that'll do it. And by the way, their next job will be with a company that they will tell where the money is, I guess is the idea.
Okay? Period. I'm not interested.
Look at this motherfucker. VTnews.ai. Stay informed, stay empowered, explore news like never before. And if it makes shit up, who cares? So do we. What a dickhead.
And I can't find $400 billion.
Yeah, that's not what they're saying.
I mean, in 2015, this is again this platforming bullshit. They buried a report because they don't want it to get out from the Pentagon that they knew for a fact $125 billion was just for waste, fraud, and abuse. I mean, they're just robbing us blind. Soap dispensers sold by Boeing at an 800% markup. Okay?
Or there was an insistence that they file a budget. And instead of saying, the number of defensive satellite systems that they were working on, or hypersonic missile stuff that they were working on, or I don't know, fucking UFO corpses that they were working on, they hid that money in the artificial markup of these other things, like the $900 hammer and the $6,000 toilet seat, which, by the way, try taking a shit on a bomber and let me know how, a regular toilet from Home Depot works out.
Can you do that in a real business? You can't do that in a real business, but if
big companies do it all the time. Ask Coca-Cola how much they spend on each part of their secret formula for Coke. I'll wait. Right? What's the budget?
in the Pentagon, and guys, remember, why did I pick the Pentagon? Because
you think war bad in the abstract, even if we come to someone's rescue, fuck them.
that's a place where if you ever questioned it, the establishment would say, how dare you, you're endangering national security.
You're un-American.
No, you can question it, but you also, we'll call you out if you're being a dipshit about it.
You're going to get us all killed if we don't pay 800% markup for soaps. And you remember the golden toilets and the $800 hammer?
There were no golden toilets. There were none. Hold on, real quick. This is going to aggravate me. Hold on. Cost of toilet on spending. I've sat on a $600 toilet seat. A $600 toilet seat, more than just a cliche over the years, it's become an icon and a convenient shorthand for government waste. But does anybody really know the story behind the famous $600 toilet seat? I do. I've even sat on one. It's an airplane toilet seat. More specifically, the famous $600 toilet seat was actually a fiberglass structure used in restrooms in the Lockheed P-3C or Orion subchaser aircraft flown by the Navy in a mini scandal. It was determined that the fiberglass shroud structure that covered the toilet needed to be replaced. Since the aircraft was long out of production, new parts were needed to be tooled and constructed. Once all the costs of the production were rolled into the final product, the cost was about $600. Probably a deal for a custom part long out of production. This will be no mystery to anyone who works on antique autos. One-off or limited production of complex parts and machinery is expensive. It also defines the crazy economics of military equipment procurement. One might be forgiven for thinking that tactic, strategy, mission needs drive the military equipment procurement process to the extent that those concerns drive the process at all. The relation is only tangential. The driving force behind most military procurement is politics and money, lots of money. Let's start with the politics. Every dime of military spending has to be authorized by Congress in a spending bill and signed into the law as a budget by the president. In the classic American sausage making and law rolling traditions which define our politics, coalitions need to be formed, foes placated with spending in their districts, and allies need to be enlisted to get military programs shepherded through the process. The senator from Lockheed may ally with a senator from Boeing to get an airplane built if the engines are built in the state and the wings are built in the other one. The process is such that the new military aircraft need to have parts from nearly all 50 states in order to see the light of day. This isn't the unalloyed evil that some pacifists on the left make it out to be, but rather the process that needs to be accomplished to get things done in a representative democracy, but care must be taken. And the military-industrial complex, Europeans found out early that the contest between social welfare state and military budgets, the military eventually loses. Having Americans pick up the tab for your defense spending helps the topics, blah, blah, blah. This guy is definitely talking about that. The perverse process produces perverse results. The KC-135, as I mentioned recently in my post above the Boeing 367-80, the KC-135 was saddled with inferior engines and an antique water injection system because the commander of SAC, General Curtis LeMay, didn't want to wait for new technology Pratt & Whitney engines to be provided literally months later. This decision, driven by perceived military necessity in the 1950s, has probably cost taxpayers tens of millions of dollars, but was at least sincerely made in light of the perceived threat the USSR provided. So he's talking about different airplane parts. But the reason they had to do this is because if you, again, the $600 toilet seat, how many of them were made? Because the perception that's always put forth in this argument is all of them, right? The military's paying $600 for every toilet seat? No, they're not. Rather than replace an entire fucking restroom on a bomber, which would cost, tens of millions of dollars, they decided to just replace the toilet seat when it wore out. And because the plane had been around for so long, they machined a new one. And to machine just a few of them, as opposed to doing a run of production where the cost declines over the number of units, they made, 47 of them at $600 a pop. Yes, 3D printing has to have helped. It does. It changes a lot. That is absolutely true. Although I'm not quite at the point where I want to sit on an unfinished 3D printed toilet seat right now. I don't know. Maybe the ridges will be nice. I'm just saying, this is a myth that carries with everyone. There are lots of areas where you can talk about military spending. The F-35 is a great conversation point about how necessary and how far it went, and if it started when it was necessary and stopped, and how do you bring it to a close without having a replacement, like a mega drone or something like that in the future, as technology shifts very quickly at times. That's a conversation worth having. But this is gaslighting. It's a lie. It's a manipulative lie. The $600 toilet seat story is a manipulative lie. And this motherfucker just called it a gold toilet. Because I would imagine it starts as a root joke in your head about what are they made out of gold? Yeah, so we put toilet seats in airplanes made of solid gold because it helps with weight and balance.
Troops, Jack.
Yeah, support the troops. So when they did that bullshit, remember I fought Dick Cheney before he was in the Democratic Party, and I say support the troops. And I looked it up at the time, and now it's a tiny bit better, but not much. This incoming salary for service members was $19,000. $19,000 a year. Where's the support the troops? The money isn't going to the troops. The money.
That's because the incoming guys come in and they're in boot camp and then they're in their first year of service. They don't live off base. Their health care, their housing, their food is completely paid for. The $19,000 is just fucking spending money for the most part. What are you talking about? It goes up over time because as people move up in rank, they move off base. They have a house. They have a family. And again, we give them health care. That's the point. They don't need that extra money for health insurance and car insurance and shit like that. Because they go into boot camp and then they get placed somewhere. What are you talking about? Like, how do you not know this? Seriously. How do you not know this? How do you not even just like, how does a light bulb not go on in your fucking head that makes you go, oh yeah, well, of course, you know, first year they're in there, they go to boot camp and then they're stationed at a base someplace and then they, you know, they build their skill or whatever. They're being educated even, a lot of them in a particular area. If they're not going straight into infantry, they might even go motor pool or they might be going, you know, trying to rank their way up into the, you know, into I don't know, flying jets or a bomber or that kind of stuff. So they're being educated around there. They're being taught how to be a pilot or taught how to be a mechanic or taught how to work a fucking engine in a nuclear sub or whatever, which is, again, a portable thing that if they do drop out, they don't decide to become an officer and carry on, they can carry that with them and go into the private sector. So they're being educated on the taxpayer's dime. They don't need the straight up cash for this. Is it, by the way, chat room, is this confusing to anybody? Is there anybody here that like that didn't occur to them, that's why you might not make more than $19K in cash your first year in the military? Like, how do you not know this? And the idea that, and again, this kind of stupid isn't a one-off. This isn't just, this extrapolates to his entire fucking reasoning in every area. If you miss a gap in reality like that, how do you process every other piece of new information or sideline information that comes your way? How does any of that work? Yes, $19K, all expenses paid. Right, that's the point. And if you stay in, you get VA benefits and all that kind of stuff. That's the point. You may not get it all up front. In the same way that you put money away for Social Security, you're not getting a one-to-one back in those dollars then, but you get paid out later on when you're older, and there's hopefully cost of living adjustments would be the point. Who in the ever-loving hell can't grasp that? First year, Nomad X's first year in the Navy was in 1975, probably $7K. Right. Well, I mean, my mom as a nurse was making, I think, $6K when I was, 6, 7 years old in 76, 77, right? And we weren't military by any stretch, so that had to include rent and back then what was a phone bill, and you had to pay for long distance, right? And by the way, long distance was like area code to area code, for fuck's sake. So, like, I don't know how. Super weird. Like, it is just so odd that wouldn't occur to you. It's like 19K? Yeah. This is the same thinking. By the way, there's a lot of parallel thinking to this, to like slave labor in California prisons. Okay, they only get paid, 3 cents or whatever, 50 cents an hour or something like that. Well, the reason they only get 50 cents an hour is because they're not working a job. They're working their time off. They're showing that they can get out early. They're trying to get a couple of years shaved off of their time in jail by being a model prisoner, by being, working that, and they don't have any expenditures. They again, we pay their food and their housing and their health care. If you get sick in prison, the government takes care of it. The money you make is on top of that. The wage that you would have, but for the fact that you don't have the freedom to go out and about, would be competitive in some neighborhoods. You get that extra money to spend on things inside the prison, or added to an account for you once you leave. And it's higher based on if it's dangerous work, or it's, or you're building a skill, or those kind of things. But this asshole pretends. And Devon, I know you can't explain any more than just kind of being derogatory in the chat room, and I welcome you. I'm glad that we have trolls here and maggots here, and all I say to them is try harder. So, yeah.
He's going to Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, etc. Okay, so let's.
Yeah, and they just put it in a fucking drawer.
Go. I mean, look. Bernie and AOC suggested a bill to cut the Pentagon by about $89 billion a couple of years back, right? And it went nowhere because the Republicans voted against it, Democrats voted against it.
Because it was too generic at the time. Let me guess. It was just that. It was just, let's just cut it by $89 billion. That's all it was. Like 2 sentences?
The establishment never wants to cut the Pentagon. You tell me we need twice as much money as we did just like 10 years ago? Bullshit. They're robbing us blind.
Oh, okay, real quick. Has technology improved and become more complex in the last decade? For real.
They're robbing us blind.
No.
So look, here's another agreement of the internet, the right wing, the left wing, the outsiders saying, for God's sake, cut the Pentagon. Look, I would say at least $100 billion. If you're not cutting $100 billion.
Again, on what? What part? You can't just say, just across the board. Just cut everything. Just dial everything back. That includes all the soldier pay. What do you think the percentage of high-tech building AI systems and drones and all that kind of stuff and satellites and fucking Space Force and all that shit? What do you think that added to the cost of the military overall? And if you do a generic cut, 10% of a budget for Space Force or something that requires, a lot of high technology, quantum computers and all that kind of stuff that they're definitely adding, a slice of that is 10% cut across the board, is a marginal cut to those areas. But if you do a uniform cut across it, who gets hurt the worst? The uniform workers. Military personnel, individuals. If you're going to cut a program, cut the fucking program. There are programs worth being cut. But this idea that you're just going just do a uniform cut. Again, that hurts the poor end more than anybody else. Because if you're making $19,000 a year for your first year in the military, a 10% cut is a greater impact on you as a human being than any of the other programs. They could probably absorb it. Groove Dragon, are you defending the current defense budget? No, Groove Dragon, I am not. I'm saying be specific or stop lying to people. Because a 10% cut in the Pentagon overall would include a 10% cut in VA benefits. That's why these guys are signing off on it. The guys around him, whatever Cenk fucking says, The rest of these guys are like, well, a bunch of these people worked in the motor pool. They're not heroes. They don't deserve fucking VA benefits. Get them out of here. That's why they're nodding along. Go after specific programs and cut them. Put your fucking mouth where the money is. That's all dirty.
You didn't even try.
Oh, no. we can cut, in my opinion, $2 trillion. And you know what my idea is with Social Security? Hey.
Boy, do we.
Hey, to all the people that paid in, old folks, we're going to take care of you. Moving forward, anybody else, you paid in this much, here's money back to you. Do whatever you want to do. Moving forward, there's no Social Security. However.
There you go. All right. Yeah, moving forward, there's no Social Security. Awesome. Congratulations, Chunk. You've found your strange bedfellow. Now roll over and take it.
When you're above 65 years old, if you choose to work after 65 years old, you pay no income taxes. Go out there. You're not paying any taxes. If you choose to work for a few years, you're making 180 grand a year, you're going to go 5 more years, 7 more years. That 180 grand you make over the next 5 years, your $78,000 you make over.
This is how people who have never worn anything to work but a suit talk. Fairly certain his parents worked their ass off. But again, the only physically degrading work that he does is that he sits for this job.
Over the next 7 years, guess what? Zero taxes, save all of it. That because we're living to 90 years old.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? Back in the days when Social Security was introduced at 62, 65, we were dying at 62. Only a few thousand people actually got Social Security. We have to
Yeah, we got to start killing these people.
make some bold decisions with this. By the way, going back
Yeah, we got to raise Social Security to 90.
to the pardon. Do you know which presidents have pardoned the most people? Because you said pardon, Trump pardoned this guy, Trump pardoned that guy. You know who's pardoned the most people? It's interesting when you think about it. Do you think more Republicans pardon people or Democrats pardon people?
Democrats.
My guess is if you're bringing it up, it was Democrats.
But watch this. You know what? I didn't know until you said that. So when you said that.
Doesn't matter why they're being pardoned, because Democrats tend to give clemency to and pardons to low-level criminals, especially people of color who've been, fucked by the system. As the law changed, that didn't, wasn't reflected in the time they had served or they were serving. So you go back and you help people that were busted for weed and shit like that. So you cut people loose, and so they don't have to carry that with them. I think that's a great idea. But if you're pardoning the fucking, I don't know, the people that helped in Iran-Contra, I would say that's different.
I was like, because you know how you said gerrymandering, typically Republicans, historically, it's true. It's known that they're more creative when it comes down to the gerrymandering.
Creative, that's the word I would use.
Okay, fine. 60-40 Republicans do more than Dems. But pardons, watch this. Grob, pull this up and do me a favor right there. Watch this. Go ahead. FDR pardoned the most people.
Wow.
Nearly 4,000.
Yeah, but he had 4 terms.
Liberal, Wilson, 2480. Liberal, Truman, 2,000. Obama
Barack.
is 4th place with
Barry.
nearly 2,000 people.
Wow.
Right. For what?
On the leaders board.
Coolidge, I think, was a conservative, Republican, if I'm not mistaken. Hoover. Grant, Johnson, Eisenhower, Cleveland, Roosevelt, Nixon. Where's Trump? Hayes, Harding, Taft, Harrison, John F. Kennedy. Where's Trump?
Well, hold on. First of all, we want to stick to, I guess, people who only did 1 term, because so far that's what he's had. We'll see what he does in his 2nd term, yeah?
Trump.
Keep going.
Carter, Clinton, Ford. Where is
Reagan.
Trump? Lincoln, Reagan. Where is Trump?
there he is.
237.
Wow, there he is.
Do you realize Trump only pardoned 10% of what Obama pardoned?
Wow.
Yeah, because he doesn't give a shit about people who are unjustly put in prison for a weed charge, I think, largely, unless they're on the bigger scale of drug dealer and he thinks that now that they're on the outside, that from a business standpoint, they can contribute to his campaign.
And you guys are talking about Trump pardons.
And there's
everybody.
W.
No, but Pat, it depends on who you pardon.
Well,
so, for
well,
example, hold on.
you go.
For example, Clinton's really low on that list. But
Yeah.
who did he pardon at the end? He pardoned all of his donors. So, like, you see what I'm saying? It's not just the raw number. They might have given pardons to people who deserved it. After a war, sometimes they pardon folks who didn't serve in the war, etc. Right? But Clinton pardoned Mark Rich, who was a super rich donor of his. So when you pardon people
That's one.
that are in your family, like he did with Charles Cushing, like Trump did with Charles Cushing, that's the issue.
What's worse than pardoning your own son?
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So for
What's worse than pardoning your own son? I would go with pardoning people that attacked the Capitol, for example, or even saying you would.
Again, I'm principled. I agree with you.
I understand. So all I'm saying is sometimes you hear about pardon. Guess what? Moving forward, now we know who pardoned a lot of people and who didn't pardon a lot of people.
Also, what does volume mean? And Chink had this opportunity. Yeah, he had to point out a Democrat, and he comes up with fucking Mark Rich. Hold on. Just gonna eat up all my showtime tonight. Look at this. Jesus. Pardons grand. Okay. Let's see. So you spend it. So here's all of let's see. I don't know if they have them categorized by offense. That's clemency. All pardons and commutations. I want the pardon offense, a serious sentence, 4 years in prison, 6 years probation. Yeah. So here's here's Obama's list or whatever. We're just like needle dropping in the middle of this. Claude Natalie Eyambafeno, frequently known as Claude Natalie Mbehedi Eyamba, misrepresentation of citizenship in Louisiana. Got a year in supervised release and 15,000. He got clemency on that one. Marvin Glenn Farrell Jr., mail fraud. 7 months imprisonment, 2 years later. Okay. False bank entry. Cherie Lynn Fox. One false bank entry. She got 3 years. All but 4 months was suspended. 3 years probation, conditioned upon the performance of 400 hours of community service in 1983. So Cherie Lynn Fox ended up walking around with this on her fucking record since 1983. Let's see. Arthur, conspiracy to manufacture and possess with intent to distribute marijuana. Manufacturing marijuana. I didn't realize they had. Is that marijuana you make with aftermarket parts? Conduct unbecoming an officer in the United States Army General Court Martial convened at Fort Gordon, Georgia. This is Peter Dwight Heidgard. Forfeiture of all pay and allowances, confinement for 1 year, dismissal from service in 1989. You got, I guess, clemency on that one or restitution on it. Acquiring and possessing food stamps in an unauthorized manner. Fred Elston Hicks was acquiring and possessing food stamps. Got a year of probation, $250 fine. Accessory after the fact, 30 months imprisonment. I don't know what the other crime was for Charles Hinton. Conspired to confederate to commit wire fraud, aid in a scheme to artifice, defraud Thornton Oil Company of money and property, cause funds to be transmitted by warrant. There's like a stack of things in the Western District of Kentucky. A year of probation is what he got, and he got clemency on this. Tequila Moneta Love, importation of cocaine into the United States, 4 years probation. That was kicked off. Again. And what does Chunk bring up? One donor of Clinton's. God damn.
37.
What a suck up.
As much as they talk, the way the media paints Trump as if he pardoned 17,000 people.
No, they don't. As a matter of fact, he didn't. He could have pardoned everybody who was even tangentially related to January 6th. He just didn't.
Yeah. 237 is who he pardoned. Okay, and we're going to see here.
Thanks, Matt.
Biden's going to be pardoned with the next few weeks. That's going to be real interesting. Everybody is on the mindset of future looks bright, and we've been saying this for a few years. We want 1 million people to wear the gear future looks bright. If you know...
Yeah, you're just selling somebody else's... You're not selling shades? I don't know, this is the ad at the end of the fucking thing. Good Lord. What a fucking bore. And all of these assholes are just one-to-one, like, Musk suck-ups. Also, Trump came out and said something about and I don't have time to cover tonight because it's fucking... I'll do it tomorrow. We'll do the whole thing tomorrow night, maybe, for the second show. But it's kind of embarrassing that, like, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that Chunk and Anna are basically doing the rounds, trying to shore up their audience, post-election for all the fuckery they were engaged in. And it's almost like it's like a payday. It's like they're going to visit all the right-wing channels and going, hey, you know and we know that we helped you out. And we've been helping you out. So you guys should follow us as well and, support the show that way. Like, that seems to be what's happening. That's why she's on Glenn Beck's show and he's on, Peanut Butter Dickhead's show. So, real quick, I don't have a ton of time left, damn it. But the mess is dialing in on the drone sightings, and his statement was, here's why Trump is correct on the mysterious drone sightings, which I guess is that Trump said the government knows what's going on and they're just not saying, is basically what he said. How he's saying that and why he wouldn't go further, because he's, I don't know if he's getting, I guess he's got to be getting his, well, maybe not. Maybe he's getting his briefings, but does he bother? Right? TYT deserves to burn very slowly. I agree. I think a sad fade would be great. So why peanut butter? Because his name is Peter Bette Davis, and it's just PB, and it's like PB and J, and his show is PBD, and so that's where the peanut butter dickhead came from. Yeah, that's just whatever. Who cares? It just rolled. It was euphonic. So here you go. This is why Trump is correct on the mysterious drone sightings, which, by the way, have been explained because they've gone over all the footage, and it's a lot of crisscrossing, people showing the same thing from two angles, and it's a fucking airplane or Venus or a commercial or law enforcement drone or a helicopter,
There are a couple of theories here, and there have been some somewhat wild ideas.
Yeah, crazy.
Put out there.
Oh, by the way, you're watching House Sparks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show.
About these drones. The Defense Department, by the way, has said that these are not our drones. We're not responsible for these drones. But it seems to me that if you're not responsible for the drones, you should know what the drones are.
Yeah. The problem they have is that a bunch of them aren't fucking drones.
I mean, it's hard for me to believe that you can have multiple flying objects kind of all over the United States or in a number of places.
Yeah, we do. They're called airplanes and helicopters and private drones owned by people just dicking around.
The United States. And the Defense Department, the government, doesn't really know what they are. Well, if you don't know what they are...
No. They just have to be adults. You can drone on, no pun intended, about this online, and everybody else can go, oh my God, what the fuck? And you can make thumbnail after thumbnail freaking out about this shit. But in reality, the adults actually have to look at something before they say something. Right? Because their words have impact, unlike yours.
And citizens are concerned about them, as they should be.
Why? Why should they? Why should they be concerned? For real, why should they be concerned? Should you be concerned about everything you see in the sky that you don't know the source of it? How do you know that Spirit Airlines flight is actually a Spirit Airlines flight and someone hasn't just painted that shit onto the side of a balloon and placed it outside your window? How do you know somebody isn't walking a Spirit Airlines balloon past your window at the same time every morning, Dinesh? Inquiring minds want to know.
You would think that you would want to go find out right away.
Yes, you might. And you might want to take care when you look to find out, to double check and make sure you're actually saying what it really is.
And you would take measures to do that. But
Yes. How long would those measures take? 16 seconds? 20 minutes? How long's too long?
But it looks to me like there's a curious kind of lassitude. Lassitude just means like lazy indifference.
If you have to explain the words you're using to your audience, it means you believe yourself to be above your audience.
To this drone phenomenon. And could it be that these are foreign drones that are being deployed? The Defense Department is worried but doesn't want to say anything.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah, they're scared because they would be. They're all nervous. They don't want to make Biden look bad on his last few weeks in office, and they're afraid Trump will get mad at them, so they're keeping mum about it. Yeah, that's what's happening. That's a completely reasonable thing. That's what military people who go to work every fucking day. That's their biggest concern. Not national security, but how they look. Starting to get the picture that a lot of these assholes online project their own insecurities onto other people. What if people find out I'm not really good at my job? Really the mess? Is that what you think? You think they think? Why would you think they think that? Is it because you think that all the time?
To the American people so as not to cause a panic or an alarm. That's possibility number one.
Sure. I mean, if it's aliens, obviously it'll ruin religion for everybody, and then the churches will burn, and then that's a whole pack of, a whole, I don't know if it'd be a can of whoop ass we'd open, just a fresh batch.
Possibility number two, as I see it, is
I think that was two possibilities in one.
The drones are ours. And by ours, I don't mean mine or yours. This.
Obviously, my drone's right here on the tabletop. I've been keeping an eye on it. It hasn't gone anywhere. But what does it do while I'm sleeping?
This is, but the drones are being somehow deployed by our own government for its own purposes.
They're watching us.
Which remain unknown because...
Obviously. Otherwise, they wouldn't be mysterious. And then how can you put the word mysterious in your thumbnail if you knew what they were looking at?
They have been undisclosed.
Which doesn't sound nearly as sexy as mysterious. Undisclosed.
And
it's just too many syllables, I think.
And so this is something where I think we do need to know what is going on.
Great. Yeah, in general, I think that's a good plan. Guys, everybody gather around. The mess thinks that when we don't know what's going on, we need to know what's going on. Eventually, if not immediately, but possibly. Brilliant.
The Trump put out a post, and this is now several...
The Trump, as opposed to all those Trump posers.
Several days ago, I'm quoting it, mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so.
I think not.
Let the public know, and now. Otherwise, shoot them down.
It's nice to know that he's still taking a sensible, measured approach. What if there's a third way?
DJT. So here, with this customary clarity, what Trump
is customary. Either let us know what they are or destroy them. Unless there's a reason why you're not letting us know what they are for a specific reason, either privacy rights or you're still checking. But neither of those are good enough. Shoot at them, especially if they're helicopters full of sightseers around the New York area.
is saying is, look, it doesn't make any sense to have all these.
Really, you have to translate tell us what they are or shoot them down? You have to put those in other words.
These drones are all over the place with us not knowing about them. I mean, this takes incompetence to a whole new level.
You mean your show and his statement? I agree.
And so Trump is saying we actually do know, but the government
Is he?
needs to fess up. They need to say what's going on. Now, if this is somehow connected with some military secrets, well, don't reveal the secrets, but say nevertheless, hey, listen, you have nothing to...
You know those secret drones we have? They're drones, but they're not a secret anymore. If you see a drone in the sky, don't film it unless it's a private drone or commercial drone or a helicopter. I guess you can film whatever's in the fucking sky. But just as a tip-off, I'm going to guess, and this is... Stop me if this seems too extraordinary a thought. I'm working this out in my head as we speak. If you had, I don't know, a secret drone program that was top secret and nobody's allowed to know about it, and that's why you're keeping it hidden. Or if you were a foreign agency or a foreign government or some mercenaries or something that were releasing drones into the sky at night. Why would you put landing lights on them? Why any lights at all, I guess, is the big question. But specifically, why would they abide by all FAA rules and regulations on the lights, as far as what lights must be on a craft that flies at night? Why would you do that? Why do you think Iran would put proper FAA compliant lighting on their secret drones? Okay. Why would they? Yes, because they have safety concerns. Thank you, DB Golding. I agree. That's got to be the primary reason. Why would that be? What do you think that would be? They're not abiding all FAA regs. They're rebellious. I'm really, honestly, if you had secret drones, spy drones especially, and they were the kind that needed lights to see, they suck. I'm just going to say it. They just suck. They suck. Whatever. If that's Iran's top of the line technology, like they have spy drones, but they have to have lights attached or they can't spy because it's too dark. Then they suck. Then I'm just going to go with they suck. We are being attacked by drones that suck from a country with shitty tech, I guess. Oops.
Fear, not because we don't know what's going on. That is a reason to fear. But rather, we don't know what's going on. These are our drones, and we're doing some necessary surveillance.
Right. But if we tell you, then the people that we are surveilling will find out too. So calm the fuck down. Also, we just arrested some dipshits who are jumping on this bandwagon and flying their drones around just to be pricks. And the more this becomes a story, the more assholes go, look, we can freak everybody out just by flying a drone at night, legally. This is hilarious. Where are the drones coming from? Jesus Christ. What do you think they're around Bedminster? Are they? Ugh, God. It's so aggravating. But what could be dumber? Ladies and gentlemen, what could be dumber? A lady who is more fucked? The Mess D'Souza or the lady who fucked him? Didn't she knock boots with the Mess at one point? Right? Isn't that part of the story that Laura knocked boots with him for a while? Just because he was a felon and she likes a bad boy. Yeah, this is Laura in her in this video says, Laura says, today we saw Trump the Peacemaker, which I believe is the name of a missile. So maybe that's what she's talking about. The ironically named Peacemaker missile. And by the way, I'm all for ironically named weapons. As a matter of fact, I would suggest that one of the solutions to our gun problem in the United States is that guns can't be black. They've got to be pink or bright yellow, or they have to have Hello Kitty on them. Legally, if you want a private assault weapon, you can have it, but it's totally fine, but it'll just say I'm gay on the side of it. Now, this won't bother any of my friends, but I have a feeling it would dent the sales of your average right-wing lunatic who might want to use a gun. Just going to go out on a limb and say that it would probably, sales might drop by by at least 12%. It's a thought. I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah, Beethoven was saying I'd buy all the guns. Yeah, well, that's probably true. That would create a new line of collectors, but I don't worry about you so much. You know what I mean? Yes, but all guns must look super girly, right? And I would have no problem having a big pink gun, you know, with Barbie written on the side of it at all. If it does the job, who cares? But I think it would really diminish. Not only would it diminish sales overall, but it would certainly drive down viewership on all those amosexual YouTube shows. Yeah, just a thought. Just throwing that out there. Look, I'm all about solutions. All right, here we go. This is Today We Saw Trump the Peacemaker.
Everyone, I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight.
Ooh, Laura Ingraham.
Thanks as always for joining us. A real president answers questions. That's the focus of tonight's angle.
Well, responding to a question isn't the same thing as answering it. I will say that.
All right, pop quiz. How many hour-plus long solo press conferences do you think Joe Biden has held in the past year?
I don't know. More than the number of infrastructure bills Trump passed. And bills like the CHIPS Act, lasting strategic tariffs and limitations that protect national security and intellectual property for American companies and designers. As far as one-to-one, I'd say that. Don't care.
All right, if you answered 0, you were correct. Well, Trump's press conference.
Yeah, he's got shit to do. He's actually the president.
Today lasted nearly 70 minutes and.
Right. That's why I didn't cover it, because it's a waste of fucking time.
Started with some great news for America.
Today, I'm thrilled to announce that SoftBank will be investing $100 billion in America, creating 100,000 American jobs at a minimum.
Yeah, at a minimum, because he doesn't think that number is big enough. He thinks 100,000 seems lame, and that it creates it's going to create 1 million jobs. Just, can I say million? No.
And he's doing this because he feels very optimistic about our country since
he does. SoftBank uses he, him pronouns.
The election. This historic investment is a monumental demonstration of confidence in America's future.
After 4 years of dealing with Biden, the bumbler-in-chief, a pro-business America is back.
Yeah, none of this bullshit walking picket lines with workers.
And the Japanese CEO laid out all the details.
This is double of last time, because I say, oh, President Trump is a double-down president. I'm going to have to double down, you know, $100 billion and 100,000 jobs. I am truly excited.
Also, just for the record, he didn't create 50,000 jobs last time through the SoftBank thing. I don't even know where, like, they would even say that 100,000 thing comes from, but whatever.
To make this happen.
Wait, I thought Trump was going to destroy global relations, offend our allies.
That's a bank CEO. fuck is that? Again, what does that have to do with anything? By the way, excellent picture choice.
In fact, it's the opposite, of course.
Yeah, we're finally patching up our relationship with Japan.
But Trump spent the majority of the press conference fielding questions and
before he tore off half of his face and sang Creatures of the Night.
and seemed to be really enjoying himself.
Are you entertaining the idea of preemptive strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities?
Am I going to do preemptive strikes? Why would I say that? Can you imagine if I said yes or no? You'd say, that was strange that he answered that way. Am I going to do preemptive strikes on Iran? Is that a serious question? How could I answer a question like that?
100%, though. Who said Trump's not diplomatic? Because
well, I think the answer is no. I think the idea is that we're America and we don't have to preemptively strike Iran's nuclear facilities. That we're gonna that would be, I mean, morally, from the United States, like we're not going to preemptively. The idea is that Israel will probably do it. If we did it, it would be through a proxy because they're thinking about doing it. As a matter of fact, they've already done it. The real question, if you wanted to ask, was Israel has clearly done preemptive strikes on Iran's nuclear capabilities, and they're going to do many of those going forward. Do you support that? And have you talked to Netanyahu about it? But in terms of the U.S. military, the answer is no. We're not going to preemptively strike anybody. That's what they were asking for, was you to say no. It's a pretty simple thing. No. Not going to preemptively strike anyone that, especially a country we're not currently at war with.
that was a pretty dumb question.
It should have been. I mean, honestly, I think that's the only question they thought he might be able to answer, because if you asked him the Israel question, he would fumfer and probably fuck things up.
And of course, Trump's used to hearing that his deportation plan is impractical. Who's going to wait our tables? Who's going to, trim our lawns?
Oh, dear.
But he knows that America holds all the cards.
Totally. And millions of immigrant workers that pay into Social Security and never take any out.
Vis-a-vis other countries.
In terms of your mass deportation plans, have you had any preliminary discussions with countries like Venezuela, from where the Tren de Aragua gang is now popping up?
They'll take them back.
They're going to take them back?
They're all taking them back, yep. And if they don't, they'll be met very harshly economically.
Imagine that, a president who uses our economic power to help Americans and get other nations to help us too.
You mean like the AUKUS agreement, or the Chips and Science Act, or the strategic tariffs against Russia, Syria, like that?
Now, we're $36 trillion in debt, and the interest on the debt is about $1 trillion or so annually. That's more than our defense budget. So Trump knows we need to move fast.
Yeah, we got to move fast.
We'll soon unleash American energy, and this will be done at levels not seen before, issuing quick approvals for pipelines, drilling, and other infrastructure. And I'll keep my promise to pass historic tax cuts for American families, workers, and businesses that create jobs in America. A lot of businesses are going to come in. Between that and our taxing and tariff policies, we're going to have business like nobody's ever seen in this country before.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, America really wasn't a business-friendly country until now.
Well, fixing our economy will not.
Why'd you cut out that quickly? That seemed like a harsh slice there. You couldn't let him finish the thought because he said something really stupid?
Happen overnight, and it will require a massive effort to save money and cut waste.
Through the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk,
which is not a department,
has been working very hard with various people, including Vivek. We're going to eliminate hundreds of...
Just skip past saying his last name right now. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Just bail on it.
Billions of dollars of waste and fraud, and they're finding things that you wouldn't even believe.
I kind of would.
So we're looking to save maybe $2 trillion.
Well, that would be amazing. But to cut the pork, especially at the Pentagon, Trump...
Oh, this is a Republican channel.
Trump's going to need to go to war. But actual wars, no. Today, again, we saw Trump the peacemaker.
There's a light shining over the world. We're trying to get the war stopped, that horrible horrible war that's going on in Ukraine. Since the election,
Man, you can't let him have more than 2 sentences together, can you? This is a lot of editing.
I've been working every day to put the world at ease a little bit, to get rid of the wars. We had no wars when I left office, and
yeah, we did. We're still in Afghanistan, even in spite of the fact that you ran on getting us out the first time. It was Biden that got us out.
now it's the whole world is blowing up.
It is. It's just like it's like Portland took over the world.
Well, it's certainly
Hashtag rip Portland.
blowing up for the hundreds of thousands of federal bureaucrats who've been on their duff since COVID.
Oh shit! She's okay. That's why Peanut Butter Dickhead and Chunk were talking about this because this is now the talking point. Only 6% of people will go into the actual office. This is so lame.
Working from home. Trump had a message for them as well, for the Zoom and phone it in crowd.
Phone it in. Fuck you, lady. You only have to be at your office an hour and a half a day. What, 10 minutes before the show? And then 10 minutes after? For real.
If people don't come back to work, come back into the office, they're going to be dismissed. And somebody in the Biden administration gave a 5-year waiver of that, so that for 5 years, people don't have to come back into the office. It was like a gift to a union.
Yeah, but also productivity is up. It's a gift to the workers themselves.
And we're going to obviously be in court to stop it.
And now Trump also blew the...
Yeah, there's the wall looks great. I don't know what we were thinking. It looks fantastic.
Whistle on the Biden administration's wasteful and petty border moves.
The other thing is,
he's been bitching about they didn't build the rest of my wall and we had all this left over and all we had to do was take private land from private citizens or native land and just use eminent domain to steal it from them and just put the wall stuff up.
really terrible. We spent a tremendous amount of money on building the wall, and
God damn, this editing. You can't... I don't remember them having to cut his statements down this much in the past.
the administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we're getting rid.
I think they already did, right? The rusty parts that were left over from the, because again, to build a support structure to hold that wall up, you have to dig down into the ground. So you need a access road on either side of it. One side, of course, being on the Mexico side, making it easier for people to traverse the ground on the other side of the wall and just walk to the end of it, wherever it ends, on native or private land, and then just walk around, rather than just leave the ground, difficult to traverse, which would slow traffic no matter what. Even if some people did make it, it'd be a way lower number.
Ready to put it up. That has nothing to do with a smooth transition. That has to do with people really trying to stop our nation. So I'm asking today Joe Biden to please stop selling the wall. We're going to use that to create a strong barrier.
Well,
you know what? I take it back. It needed more edits.
I actually said please. That was surprising to me. The president-elect was so at ease in front of the media that
you only had to make an edit every 7 words.
It looked like he could have gone on for another hour.
Oh, believe me, he has no problem going on and on and on and on.
What a refreshing change this is.
It is. It's so refreshing to see basically a person repeat the same shit over and over again.
From how the current occupant of the White House carried himself, including on July 11th, which was his last formal press conference, which started this way.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
Oh, yeah, he just misspoke and swapped the name out. Who cares?
President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky.
Yeah, that's fine. Good Lord.
Aren't you going to miss that?
Yes, I am. But I don't have to worry about it because all of the things that he did during his presidency will have impacts for decades, including removing all the lead pipes from the country and building and rebuilding the infrastructure of the country and providing rural broadband to everyone, and the CHIPS and Science Act, which is creating fabs in Arizona, which will make it a singular powerhouse state. And if you think it's important to have a good senator in those states going forward, I got news for you.
And we got to the question part of the program. Well, things didn't improve much.
What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president until I think she was not qualified to be president.
Remember, the press was complicit all along in the...
Also, name swapping when you're talking a bunch is not a big thing. He didn't sign a piece of paper fucking around the name. And by the way, Trump does this all the time. Do we have to even... Hold on. Just we'll just go straight to... How about this? Well, I got to wait for my buttons to wake up because I haven't used them in so long because I didn't need to. Jesus.
Our army manned the airport. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do. Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your...
Seriously. Swapping a name is nowhere near whatever the fuck...
Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your...
Rip-a-doot-oh. For real. Honestly, yeah. Nikki Haley, him calling her Nancy Pelosi.
TPP2.
Right. How about this guy right here?
When they gaze upon Yosemite.
Uh-huh.
Michigan gave us Motown. Gave us the Mustang. Free health care for illegal... Look.
Yeah. So, sorry. Did you play any of those clips on your show, Laura? I'm guessing no.
Cover-up of Biden's decline. They knew how bad it was.
Yes, they certainly did, especially those who worked in the Ass Force.
First new branch of the U.S. Armed Forces in 75 years, Space Force. Not since the Ass Force.
Not since the Ass Force.
So to scratch back some of their credibility, they'd have to admit they were wrong about all their false and dire...
Oh, how will they scratch back? They could use...
Action replays in magnified fortune.
predictions.
Trump just blatantly vowing to abuse power, to target American citizens as, quote, enemies, threaten the free press.
For a lot of the post...
Yeah, that worries me a lot more than someone swapping a name in conversation.
Columnists, they believe Trump is a threat to the American free press and that he will impose draconian restrictions. And those fears are palpable in other newsrooms as well.
One freedom often taken for granted is under threat, and that is freedom of the press. Activist groups warn that Donald Trump's second term further endangers this essential right.
Oh, Christian, not having a front row seat in the briefing room isn't the same as losing your First Amendment rights.
Also, I don't think she sits in on that. She's well graduated past that, hasn't she? She's not in the room.
This is always nonsense.
Also, nobody wants it in case Trump comes out because he spits when he talks.
Nonsense.
And he smells funny.
They have to be better than this. Trump has been the most transparent politician in modern history.
Yeah, that's why he's not going to release the Epstein stuff, because there's a lot of phony stuff in there. And you can't let that stuff out because, a lot of people could be, hurt by leaks of, information that may or may not be, some of it may be true, but the other parts of it, especially anything involving him, might not. So you don't.
He tells us what he thinks and he does what he says.
Yeah, like he ran on getting us out of Afghanistan and didn't do it. And he's got concepts of a healthcare plan that he's going to replace the ACA with and any day now. And as soon as they find something that's better than a disaster, he will replace it with that.
No one's perfect, but who's done?
Yeah, right. What, are you perfect? No. What the fuck do you know, America? You're not perfect, so stop asking him to live up to some sort of impossible standard.
Who's even come close? He's never afraid to take questions from an adversarial press.
That's because he doesn't care about telling the truth.
And today was just another reminder of the fun we're going to have over the next 4 years.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean.
Yeah, that's the angle. It's going to be so fun, guys. It's going to be so fun. You know, we got all this to look forward to.
Action replays in magnified fortune.
All over again.
Even brought a safecracker.
Yeah, safecracker. I remember those or whatever.
I've been involved in the two greatest scams in American history.
Well, I'll tell you, just getting started.
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
And indeed he did.
The Burmese executives. So this Burmese, they say, pronounce it Burmese.
Yeah, for the record, by the way, no one ever said that. And I think we should end on this note tonight, if I may, because there was a piece of news that broke yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, and it's, I gotta say, for me, it's one of the most fun pieces of news to break. Now, it wasn't a surprise, obviously, because we knew that the trial around this was happening, but if you'll recall, there was a guy who said, and there was this big story for a long time, that Biden and Hunter were getting $5 million from Ukraine and all that shit, and that guy got busted for lying to the FBI because he changed his story a couple times. And yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, former FBI informant pleads guilty to lying about the Bidens taking bribes. That's right. He's going to get 4 to 6 years. Alexander Smirnov pleaded guilty to a felony charge related to the fabricated story, as well as a separate tax evasion charge for allegedly hiding millions of dollars in income, according to a separate indictment. Smirnov's attorney declined to comment. Prosecutors and defense have agreed to propose a sentence of 4 to 6 years in prison when he appears for sentencing next month. Trump will probably pardon him, or maybe he won't, just to keep the story quiet. I hope he does. I really do. I hope Trump pardons Alexander Smirnov. Prosecutor agrees Smirnov will receive credit for time served since his February arrest, which stemmed from allegations that he told his FBI handler, Ukrainian energy company Burisma, had paid $5 million each to President Biden and Hunter in around 2015. In fact, he had never even met them until 2017, when Biden was no longer in office, and none of that actually happened, and he had no influence to sell. And why would he? So why do you have to bribe somebody who's no longer vice president, isn't running for office, and is in the private sector for the first time in his fucking life? Well, that's where it fell apart. And he had to change his story when he was talking to the FBI, and that's where they caught him in a lie. And so he's going to go to jail for 4 to 6 years, or until Trump pardons him for doing him a favor and helping to manipulate. Now, this is, you want to talk about election interference? That's what this guy was engaged in, right? How many times did we see Comer talking about, and Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about this $5 million payoff, right? Anybody remember, like, months and months and months of this shit, 2 years practically of this particular story, and you know the only reason this asshole went to jail? You know the only reason this asshole went to jail? This is one of my favorite fucking parts of this whole story, ladies and gentlemen. You want to know the reason why this asshole actually is going to jail? It's because Comer and Marge and all these people, when Hunter Biden got a deal, said, wait a second, I hear there's all this criminality, and I want the FBI to look harder at this. So they intentionally told them, we need you to go and re-look at this because you dropped the ball. And so they re-interviewed all these people, and a couple of them went to jail, including this asshole, because they were lying then and they lied again. If they just had let it go, they could have used it as a smear campaign against Hunter Biden and kept it there. But they had to dig deeper, and when they did, they found out the guy was lying, and he lied again. And so he's going to jail. If they'd have just left well enough alone, he would have never been caught. They never would have put 2 and 2 together that he was lying about the year that he met them and checked emails and went, holy fuck, you actually didn't even meet them until Biden was no longer in office. And this guy has Marjorie Taylor Greene and James Comer and to some degree Jim Jordan, ironically enough, to blame for why he's going to jail. Because he had dodged accountability on it. And because they insisted on relitigating the entire case, dropping the plea deal and going back to the fucking well, what they did was, they lost like any other related cases around Hunter Biden because they threw the poison tree and the fucking fake laptop and all that shit. And they re-interviewed this dude and he lied. And they went, wait a minute, that's different from what you told us last time. And they went, oh, the first time was a lie too. And that's why he's going to jail. So I want to thank James Comer and Marjorie Taylor Greene from the bottom of my kidney to
the kidney has a very special place in the heart.
Yes, I want. Yeah, sure, that makes sense. From the bottom of my that part of my heart, for helping put Alexander Smirnov in jail. Let's give it up, chat room. Hey, seriously, a big round of applause for Marjorie Taylor Greene and Comer and Jim Jordan for putting one of the people behind the biggest lie against Joe Biden and Hunter Biden in jail, because without them, wouldn't have happened. Isn't that adorable? All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Philip Bittner will be joining us in the second hour for the morning show, and I don't know, is the Major with us tomorrow morning for Andrea for the for that part of it? Yes, time check, thank you. Posting Chazzy team, hashtag. Okay, but there we go. Wait, God. Yeah, is it just checking before I go? But it definitely, Phil, hopefully the Major, I think, or we'll have another guest in the first hour. And then, if not, I will see you guys. It was just me chit-chatting, because God knows I can talk. Let me tell you something. Hit the like, share the show, Venmo, all that stuff that I forget to say, which is probably one of the reasons why my channel isn't bigger, is because I just don't sell it hard enough, because I'd rather just let the proof be in the pudding. Bob Seska, I would love to have Bob Seska back on. And no Kitty tonight, because they're all upstairs and I'm wearing a nice jacket. And if Chip sees the ceiling fan and panics, he'll claw a hole in my nice space jacket, which I put the symbol on. Just saying. It's pretty impressive. Just telling you. All right, I gotta go. I've been making shorts and all kinds of stuff, and I gotta finish making them. God damn it! And there's all this other stuff, and then I even forget which button do I push to make this thing? That one. There you go. All right. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. You're right. I don't use clickbait. You're absolutely right. Oh, and happy birthday, Dean Obadala. Yeah. I go on his show. He should come on mine. Dag nabbit. And then, do we get memberships in this thing? Holy smokes. Look at that. Doc Spano, love you. Fletcher, thank you for gifting the memberships. Pentaxid Sign. Speaking of Trump pardons, exactly. BJ Kodak, thank you for gifting those. That's amazing. Jen, oh my gosh. Gifting the jalapeno memberships. Big Thoven, Cenk is like watching a clown try to mime. Ooh, that's painful. Jen, bless you so much for the gift and the memberships to everybody. Really does help the channel, especially because I'm being pushed aside. And JD Christie, I'm glad you liked Salty. And Taxenstein, I'm a damn good-looking man. I agree. I think so. Paulie beat up, but that's this fucking guy. Go get your shine box. Thanks, Richard. Tim Apple, I appreciate you enjoying policy discussion. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you, Marianne. Hi, Jerry. Thank you so much. Thanks, Richard Fleer. I stepped out of the TARDIS to PBD. Sorry, we're gonna have peanut butter dildos sometimes. SSA is exactly zero to that. Yeah, Social Security adds exactly 0 to the debt. It's an excellent point. Pentaxid sign. Thank you. right, I'll see you guys tomorrow.